What the Actual Fork, hosted by Sammy and Jenna. And let's start it off. This is one of my biggest pet peeves when it comes to podcasting. This is like a Zoom call style podcast. It's just two women on a video conference. And this is what they say.
Now, let's get into it.
Welcome back to a Jenna and Sammy episode of What the Actual Fork podcast. Hi, Sam.
Hi, Jenna. I love these ones where we just get to catch up and tell each other stories, basically.
Sometimes I have to remind myself that this is not a phone call.
Yes, we are recorded for the entire internet to hear.
Okay, we're off to a bad start.
Yeah.
Something I just think I'm talking to my friend. All right, then it's not a show, and don't do that.
Yeah.
But I love that she goes, we got to remember, this is for the whole internet. This has 30 views. This episode has 30 fucking views on YouTube. Relax over there, all right?
So excited, I figured out a webcam. Look at me. Look what I'm doing over here.
Let me read the description of this show so that we understand what we're getting ourselves into. What the Actual Fork podcast is co-hosted by your favorite intuitive eating registered dietitians, Sammy, owner of Find Food Freedom, and Jenna, owner of Happy, Strong, Healthy. I just called her Jenner. Like I'm fucking stuttering Jenner.
Get to the pernt.
Owner of Happy, Strong, Healthy. These dietitian besties can't stand diet culture bullshit and love keeping it real. Their mission is for all humans to believe that they are made for so much more than chasing a smaller body. They're also here to share with you that food can be fun and pleasurable again. Although these ladies are medical professionals, okay, they're human too. They're not afraid to share their deepest secrets and how years of their lives were taken by diet culture. Give me back my lives.
I guarantee that description is more interesting than this show by far.
Yeah. All right, well, actually, since I'm reading this is how, just a snippet. There's a long intro here with music and stuff. This is just a snippet from it.
We are also here to share with you that food can be fun and pleasurable again.
Although we are medical professionals, we are human beings too. We are not afraid to share our deepest, darkest secrets and how many years of our lives were taken by diet culture.
We started this podcast so no human has to feel alone in their journey towards food freedom.
I hate that last sentence. They started this podcast so no human has to feel alone in their journey towards food freedom. First off, journey. Yeah. Bullshit.
Yeah.
If you want to change the way you live your life, then change it. It's not a fucking journey. Just make it happen, all right? But food freedom. So we were talking about our strategies on how to find the worst podcast. One of my least favorite things are people who justify unhealthy eating habits and just go, this diet culture, they tell you to count your calories and to keep fit. That's bullshit. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I don't want to grow up. It's like, well, you should grow up. But so these two, even though neither of them are fat, I was surprised by that. But they do say all the things that the fatties love.
Wait, did they also start out that clip by saying we are medical dietitians
Yes.
instead of saying we are not?
Oh, they claim that they are.
Oh, they claim that they are? I thought that
Yeah.
you said, oh my God, they're so stupid.
Yeah, no, they're very stupid. You can tell by the way they talk. And here's an example of that. Jenna uses the word actually a little bit too much in this clip.
Boundaries are not our forte, but we're getting better. We're definitely
Well,
getting
actually,
better.
why don't we start there before I ask you your What the Actual Fork moment, because we were just chatting about this and I feel like we've never actually defined what a boundary is and why they're so important.
Why they're so important?
It's actually important.
Let me read you what she just said because I wrote it down.
Oh, no.
Well, actually, why don't we start there before I ask you your What the Actual Fork moment? Because we were just chatting about this and I feel like we've never actually defined what a boundary is and why they're so important.
She's on brand.
Medical professionals. I noticed they love the word important and they say it a lot, so I put together a little supercut for us.
Important. It's important. And important.
Oh my God, someone super chat them some teas.
Yeah.
Yeah, the consonants are free. It's the vowels you have to pay for.
Oh yeah, you're right.
That's my first video supercut right there.
Hey.
Did a good job.
Thanks. Appreciate it. The software did it for me. Okay. So they start out the show discussing personal boundaries and they get into a long discussion about this. I don't know if this is something people are confused by. I don't know why they think this is something that they need to explain or who they think their fucking audience is. But as they're talking about these boundaries and why they're so important, this woman, Jenna, says something that's fucking nuts. Now, Jenna is pregnant during this episode, and she already has a child.
I have a son. I don't know what's in my belly. I'm pretty sure it's another son. But I don't know, but I'm pretty sure. And I'm like, I'm going to be the in-law one day. And like, I need to make sure that my future grandchildren, God bless and God willing, that there are no boundaries set against me. So I just need to be on my best game. Anyways, I did pull up a definition and it says personal boundaries are the limits and rules we set for ourselves within relationships.
So I'm not confused about what boundaries are. Yeah. I'm very confused about what she just said. She's talking about, so she's pregnant right now. She has a young son. She's talking about her grandkids and boundaries based on her grandkids and the future.
The impression that I get is that she has a mother-in-law that is trying to insert herself into Caitlyn Jenner's life or whoever this is. So she's like, well, one day I'm going to be a mother-in-law, and my daughter-in-law is not going to want anything to do with me the way I don't want anything to do with mine. And my biggest problem is I have too much food and too many people that like me instead of being homeless and people wanting nothing to do with me and having no food. So I have all the problems.
Wow.
How did you figure that all out?
He's the goat.
That was amazing.
I think I could analyze Andy right now based on Andy knowing all that. I think there's something going on with your family dynamic right now. Well done. Because I'm just like, why not worry about your kids first before you start worrying about your grandchildren, how they feel about you? It doesn't make any sense to me, but okay. I guess that all makes sense now to everyone. So now we're going to get into Sammy. And Sammy's going to start talking about something that happened to her. She has an 11-month-old daughter. And she took her daughter out somewhere. And someone made a comment about her size. Now, I've seen a bunch of 1-year-olds before. They tend to be small. 1-year-old babies tend to be pretty small.
Well, for a guy who doesn't have kids, you know a lot.
I've done my research on this one today.
I bet you did.
She's only 11 months, and she will be soon enough at an age where she will be taking in these comments. And she's had this her whole life. She's so petite. She's so petite. She's so petite. And then that made me feel shame of like, am I not feeding her enough?
Okay. So someone commented that her 11-month-old daughter is petite. And immediately it triggered her like, you're body shaming my daughter. Yeah, it's not a body shame thing.
Yeah. I'm a good mother.
I know. How insecure are you that's triggering you?
But who's the idiot calling it an 11-month-old?
What's wrong with your boob juice?
Yeah.
It's not fattening up your kid enough.
It's so stupid. So that's just something that I think that if someone said to me, I would just be like, oh, yeah.
Whatever.
Moving on.
Women hate being called petite.
I know. I'd forget about it immediately, but not Sammy. Sammy was very upset about this.
So it stopped me in my tracks. And I'm like, damn, like I just forget because I don't leave my house often how much people talk about body size and how early it starts. And I do need to get myself ready for when she is able to understand these comments to start to set boundaries.
What is with the boundaries?
Oh, they love boundaries. So she's concerned. Thank God her daughter didn't understand that she was being called petite, because could you imagine? She'd be scarred for life if she had known that. Thank God she didn't know that. But someday she will understand that. And so we have to figure out how to deal with this. This is going to be a huge crisis. This continues on.
There's worse words than petite, by the way.
Yes, I know. That's what I'm saying. It's so stupid.
Emaciated,
And I love that she goes, I mean, I don't leave the house at all. So to me, like having a human interaction was bizarre and I didn't like it. Maybe she get out more. I don't know what to tell you. So she gets home from this lunch or brunch or whatever she's at, and she has to tell her husband about this thing that went down because it's very upsetting.
It just like, I came home and Luke was like, how was the Mother's Day brunch? And I'm like, well, it was great. And the first conversation was this. And it's like, after I took a deep breath, I got over it and moved on. But it made me realize like, I'm going to have a lot of work to do and to keep myself safe, to keep Sienna safe. And So, but it stopped me and made me just in my head, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what are we doing?
The word safe, I wrote down in my notes. It's going to be a lot of work to keep my daughter safe from people saying she's petite.
At brunch.
Probably just trying to make small talk. Someone brings a baby, you got to acknowledge the fact there's a fucking baby. You can't be like me, just be like, ugh.
Yeah.
I just roll my eyes and look the other way.
Get the fuck away from it.
Great, a baby's here. Someone's trying to be polite. Oh, it's so cute. Wow, it's so tiny. I can't believe it. She's like, what the fuck? How am I going to deal with this? Medical professional.
Time to set boundaries.
It's time to set those boundaries. And she got to have long discussions with her daughter about people might one day comment on the size of her body. I mean, I can't imagine what that would be like. Thank God it's never happened to me, but it seems like it'd be very traumatic if that were to happen. All right. So fast forward, they're both going through these traumatic things that happen to them. And Jenna, who I mentioned is pregnant, had to go for to the doctor's office for a checkup. And boy, did she have a horrible experience. And that's what launches really the whole point of this episode.
Once they finally put me in a room that had like the ultrasound machine, the nurse like never came in. So this like very busy woman, very young, came in and she was like, has anyone seen you yet? And I'm like, no. Does it look like anyone's seen me yet? Like I'm sitting in here by myself.
First off, she doesn't know that. People come in and then leave.
Yeah, all the time.
Fucking time. Does it look like it? What the fuck? Go find
A
yourself.
dickhead thing to say.
Yeah, all right.
And she was like, okay, let's just do your vitals. And like was just like very pushy and very rushy. And she took my blood pressure, which was fine. And she's like, okay, time for the scale. And I didn't say anything. I had previously like thought about just like refusing all weights just because I don't find it necessary. I'm very clearly growing. But I was like, you know what? Who cares? So I went on the scale and she was like moving the little ticker like up or up. And she was like, wow, really? And like said it like that, like, wow, really? Like she was surprised that she was pushing it forward is how I internalized it, but like could have been something different. And I like glared at her and I was like, what does that mean? And she's like, I'm just surprised.
So it sounds like the problem here is other women being catty with each other, right? Is that what the problem is? So she's all upset that she's pregnant. And the woman's like, whoa, putting on some weight there. Yeah. You're supposed to.
She said, you look good.
Yeah.
I would you don't look like you're $160
right.
or whatever it is.
Right. This is a skinny woman here.
Yeah.
Who wasn't going to get on the scale and then reluctantly got on it. And then, oh boy, things got rough from there. Wow, look at this. $160. Jesus. How am I going to live with myself?
But she admitted what her problem was. She said, I internalized it. She did not say anybody did something. She's literally blaming herself, but without blaming herself.
Well, at first.
Yeah, she lets herself off the hook immediately.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
At first. But then she's internalizing this. She explains that she brought this home with her.
Oh, the journey home.
Producer Chris, you and I had rehearsal last night. Mm-hmm. Did you bring anything home with you?
Yeah, like a Budweiser.
I did see that in your car. All right. So this is how she brings things home.
I didn't say anything after that, but what I thought about, and I did bring it home with me. It didn't just like leave my space. And the way that I said this, actually, I reposted one of Elise Meyer's videos about being weighed at the doctor's office.
I saw it. Funny. It was so good.
But you know, the reality is like the less healed version of me, because I'm no longer going to say like anybody is healed because you're constantly healing, right?
Yeah.
But like the less healed version of me that comment alone would have impacted the way I fed my baby, fed myself, moved my body, thought about my pregnancy, and the anxiety that I would have had about going back to future doctor's appointments.
She's anxious about how she would have been anxious if she hadn't been anxious.
Was she just saying she would have withheld food from her baby? If she was her baby, would it be fat?
If she was less healed, the less healed version of her, it would have impacted how she fed her baby. The fact that this woman was surprised how much she weighed.
She wants a petite baby. She's jealous of the other girl.
They should swap babies.
They should just swap babies, probably. So it sounds like the less healed version of her is a mental patient. If a comment like that is going to all of a sudden set off these series of events where your daughter dies at the age of 2 from malnourishment. Like, what?
These broads don't have enough going on where they're inventing this shit.
Yeah, right. They're coming up with problems that don't fucking exist and dwelling on it. Wow. And posting it on social media and then talking about it on their show.
Welcome to America.
They got to
where we just have to make up problems because we have it too good.
Yeah, you know who's not offended by people saying, wow, I'm surprised how much you weigh? People in Palestine. Yeah. They're not worried about that right fucking now.
Not right now.
It's not a problem for them.
They're trying to set boundaries, though.
They know the definition of boundaries. They have to live with it every day. All right, so I knew we'd find some humor when I brought up Palestine. I'm like, all right, here we go.
Slam dunk.
It's just ripe for jokes. So this is great because, as I brought up, if you're not watching this right now, this is not a large woman. And usually it's the ashes, the infinifats of the world who have a problem with being weighed. We've talked about this on the show before. We had Dr. Steve on the show who explained why they weigh these people and what the importance is to that.
And how to pee in a hat.
And also how to pee in a hat. I forgot about that. So she explains that it could have been worse.
But I couldn't help but think about, the fact that I have thin privilege myself.
Thin privilege? It's not a privilege. You don't eat like an asshole.
How somebody in a larger body would have felt if that comment was made, or somebody who is in that less healed space, what their future steps towards caring for themselves would have or could have been after that exchange, which in her mind, she thinks was seemingly innocent and maybe even kind, right? I don't know what her intention behind saying that is. And how it actually impacted me or, God forbid, somebody else.
Oh, my God.
I got lost along the way there.
Well, I know. It is all very confusing. But the idea that it probably, the person who said it meant it as a compliment, and she still took offense to it and is still bringing it with her, bringing it along with her wherever she goes.
She's still talking about the scale thing?
Yes.
How would it impact? There's 2 people there. She's like, how would this impact somebody else? There's 2 people there. There's the one person that said it, and you. How would that impact somebody else?
What if this happened to someone who's fat? They would have gone home and eaten a pint of Ben & Jerry's and gotten over it. That's how they would have handled it.
It's so
they
dumb.
They wouldn't cry about it on a podcast.
People that are kind of like born smaller want to be bigger. And people that are big want to be smaller. People with curly hair want straight hair, and people with straight hair want curly hair. You want what you don't have.
Right.
And you can't make it other people's problem.
Yeah, why even internalize that? Why even think about what if this had happened to blah, blah, blah? It didn't. Who cares?
They don't even know it happened.
That? Jesus. Nothing even happened to you. It's not even a thing. But this is the topic of conversation for this show. And so they bring up thank God there's resources out there for us. I'm always concerned about, are there enough resources? Are there enough tools for us to use?
We've had Dr. Asher Larmy on the podcast twice now, and they have a wonderful website, No Way, and that's weigh.org/resources gets you to the page where it has this business card that can help you set the boundary with a medical professional if you do not want to be weighed. And again, that's noway.org/resources. And it simply says, I do not consent to the following: being weighed, discussing my weight. Yes, right? Being weighed, discussing my weight, discussing weight loss, a weight management referral.
Refusing a weight management referral. That's a smart thing to do, for sure. So let's check out this website, noway.org. This is great.
Huh, it's a real thing.
Welcome to #NoWay. Campaign to end medical weight stigma. What is #NoWay? It's for fat assholes who feel ashamed of themselves and don't want to be reminded that they're living their lives like shithouse.
Look at these success stories over here.
I know, these fucking giant tubs of lard. No more scales, no more shame, no more fear, no more discrimination. You should have fear. You should have fear of a lot of things, a lot of problems.
There's no more food because you're here.
I'm handing my doctor a trifold, like, delete law.
Yeah, right. Here are the following things that you can say to me. I'll say whatever the fuck I want to, asshole. So then I go to the resources because I want to get one of these cards to hand to my doctor, obviously. I don't want to be shamed at the doctor's office. And I click on it, and it's broken. Slash resources is broken. God damn it. Where am I going to get my card then? So as I'm watching this, so like we had a doctor on our show. They explained they're part of this noway.org so that we have ways that you can tell your physician, I don't want to be weighed when I come into the doctor's office. And I was thinking, there must be a reason why they weigh their patients. There's probably a medical reason. It probably has to do with their health. They're probably looking out for them. They're probably not doing it to shame their patients, right? They don't get together on the weekends and be like, oh my God, you should have seen Samantha gained 30 pounds. Just check this out, right? I'll ask that to Steve, but maybe they do.
It's all a ruse, like turning to the left and coughing.
Right. They just want to see if you'll do it. They just want to see if you'll do it.
Pecker checking.
And we always
gym
do.
Teachers.
When they shove that thing down your urethra, you don't have to do that to get rid of STDs. It's just fun for them.
Yeah. Prostate cancer doesn't even exist.
It's not even a thing. So I'm thinking, wait, isn't there ever a time when the doctor probably should know what your weight is? And thankfully, they explain there are exceptions.
If you're getting anesthesia, that is very much, part of the dosing process for safety, because like God forbid they dose you too high and it could be detrimental to your health, or too low and you're awake during a surgery. That could really suck.
We don't want that.
We don't want.
Oh, not knowing the weight could actually end up having you be dead. Sounds like maybe you should just get on the fucking scale, Tommy.
On either of those things. So there are some scenarios where it may be necessary, and even in pregnancy, which is like the beginning part of this conversation, there are some nuances to it too. If you have a high risk pregnancy, if you are having hyperemesis and like vomiting a lot, they do want to make sure that you're gaining at that point. Like I do, after speaking with some people, like those are two scenarios where it may be possible. So no matter what the situation is, you can, one, advocate for yourself and say no.
Wait, well, hold on a second. You just told me how important it was in certain scenarios that they know what your weight is. And she goes, and listen, you can just say no to the doctor. I thought you were just telling me how I shouldn't say no to the doctor. No, I'm wildly confused. So that's my submission this week. I present to you What the Actual Fork, a show by two retards giving out medical advice.
Who are these podcasts?